Hello, I'm Adriana. I am a channel for the energy from the divine that supports our growth and a soul path mentor. Today, I really wanted to share with you some interesting and almost bizarre synchronicities. They're almost too perfect, and they happen between the world of sports, soccer, or football, depending on where you're from, and some specific astrological events of today. And this is not a prediction or anything necessarily, but it unfolded right in front of my face, and I just had to share it with you. So, little bit of context. As you know, it's Leo season. It has been from the end of July for another week or so. And Leo is represented by the lion, right? Leo means lion in Latin. And the lion is all about courage and the heart and being brave and having that sunny, open, creative heart. And Leo rules the fifth house. And the fifth house is all about sports and passion and dating and children and being on this stage, everything that's done with enjoyment and pleasure and that sense of fun. So when you think of events like the World Cup, and specifically I'm talking about the Women's World Cup, this is a perfect Leo thing. It's a huge event, a worldwide event. Leo's big. They like big things. On a huge stage in front of thousands and thousands of people around the world watching this. Okay, so great. So we've got the World Cup going on, happens to be in Leo season. Wonderful. Okay, now today, what is today? Wednesday, happens to be the day of a new moon. And new moons are very special because it means that the sun and the moon are right there, right next to each other. So in terms of if this is in your natal chart, if you're born under a new moon, it's like your inside and your outside are in harmony with each other. Your emotional self and your personality self and your willpower, they're in tune. So they're right next to each other. Now, today we happen to have the sun and moon at 23 degrees Leo when the moon was new. And then the moon started moving again because the moon doesn't stay in place for long. But new moon at 23 degrees Leo. And if you follow moon phases, you know that new moons are also usually special manifesting time. Although I did watch a video yesterday by a very respected astrologer saying that this moon is more about introspection rather than pushing things forward. Anyway, point is, new moon, very special energy, really cool that it came together at 23 degrees Leo. Because also keep in mind, we're in the year 2023. And so yes, we've got a 20 there, but there's 23 in the last two. Okay, so all that's going well. And today, we just happened to chime in. We happened to tune into the last half of the World Cup. And if you haven't seen it, you want to see it, please stop watching the video because this is going to tell you a little bit about what happens. And if you haven't watched it, I would advise at least finding some clips because it was a very exciting game. It was perfect for a passionate Leo charged kind of game that you'd love to see. So anyway, England is leading. It's England and Australia. And that's interesting too because England is the northern hemisphere, Australia is the southern hemisphere, and now they're both in the same place, right? They're both in the southern hemisphere playing in, I think it's New Zealand. So England is leading. Australia manages to catch up. And then, so to level the score, then this player fires in from nowhere. She fires in a goal, this English player, and everyone goes crazy. Now her name is Russo, which means red, and she happens to be number 23. And so remember, we've got the sun and the moon at 23 degrees. So we've got sun, goal, right? Usually in the tarot, the sun card is the sign of success. Like you've made it, you're going to do it. So it's a triumph. So she makes a goal. And that would be cool enough. The fact that it was number 23 making a goal when the sun is at 23 degrees Leo and the moon is at 23 degrees Leo. So that would be cool enough, right? Well, they keep playing, play keeps unfolding. This same player number 23, makes another goal. That's like the sun and the moon together. So 23 has made 2 goals when the sun and the moon are at 23 degrees, Leo. It was really, really a cool thing. And so there was just so much energy and so much heart in the game, which again, that's such a great Leo concept, a lot of heart. So all of this was really neat. And I was like, okay, I've got to make a video about this. And so I started to research the team a little bit more. And I found this other amazing thing. The Australian team are called Matildas because of the song Waltzing Matilda. It's kind of like an unofficial Australian national anthem. But guess what the English team is called? They're called the Lionesses. So female lions, right? Leo. So how is it that a lioness wearing number 23 made 2 goals, sun and moon at 23 degrees, the same astrology? So I'll do a tarot spread about what that means, because now that I've shared it with you, it has become part of your existence too. So it's got meaning for both of us. But I think on the other side is just this really positive, inspirational message from the universe saying, hey, you're on the right track. You are working on bringing that shadow, the moon, together with the light, the sun. You're really doing well bringing these 2 elements of yourself together. You're really doing well. Because again, she made goals. And what is also really interesting to me, I looked at today's astrology chart, and Lilith, which is the sign of our very shadowy, unintegrated part of ourselves that wants to reintegrate, she's at 24 degrees Leo. So she's slightly ahead of where the sun and the moon were. But the point is that we're headed towards where that Lilith is. And so we as the journeyers have just had success vicariously, but we're headed towards that Lilith, that final bit, that final shadow that is in the dark but wants to be folded into the light. Lilith in Leo is about being shamed for who you are as an individual, because you might be different and eccentric, and because Leo is all about the personality, right? The big personality. Lilith also has a hard time, if she's in Leo, with being seen on the stage, especially seen for the creative person that he or she is. So as these sun and moon head towards Lilith, they're heading, it's like this positive momentum pushing you towards this last little bit of shadow, saying, yes, you will be folded in the light. You will be integrated. Because remember, the new moon she's coming out of a dark moon. So you don't see any light yet. When the sun and moon are together, all you see is the light of the sun. So it's that light coming forward to take that moon and that Lilith in hand to really fold these 2 things together. I think there's also a message about the feminine power really rising, the fact that these are the lionesses. And in a lion pride, it is the lionesses that are the true source of power. The male is the protector, and I mean, he's kind of there for show, but the lionesses do all the hunting and all of the rearing of the children. So the power is truly with the feminine when you think of lions, even though we tend to think of the male lion as being the figure. And then my last message before I look at what this means in terms of the tarot for us is that I think this is also a little message reminder for those of us on this journey that things really are more connected than they seem. You may feel alone, you may feel like no one else has you, or you may feel unconnected to the universe at times. But when you see these perfect synchronicities unfolding in front of you, you have to think that there's more going on than just us struggling through every day trying to eat and clothe ourselves, right? There's more to life than what's in front of us, and every single moment can be sacred. I'll give you an example. I was having a talk with a friend this morning, and we both have, let's see if I can find this card. We both have the Druid deck, the Druid Craft Tarot. And the Ace of Swords card is a hand coming out of the water with a sword on the end of it pointing up. And of course, I can't find the card. So we're talking about this card because my friend is saying, this card has been coming up a lot for me. Here it is. So it's a hand with a sword coming out of the water. And she was talking about what it meant to her. And I kid you not, in the middle of the road, I saw a sword. Really, I mean, I was out walking. Really, it's a gardener's machete, but it might as well be a sword. It's got like that plastic handle and then a very straight blade. I don't know if you've seen them, but the blade is so long, it almost looks like a fake sword, like a kid's play sword. I'm sure it fell off of the back of a landscaping truck, but she's talking about the Ace of Swords card. And then in the middle of the road, I see in the same, it wasn't like line cockeyed or anything. It was exactly like this, perfectly straight up and down. So there's a lot more connections, and the other side with the veil being so thin is trying to give us as much physical support and physical validation, physical proof that they are here with us, even though we may not be able to see them or sense them all the time. So what was the meaning of Sun and Moon at 23 and goal player 23? I mean, goal player. I'm going to tell you how much I watch sports. Soccer player 23, making those two goals. What is the bigger message? All right, 8 of Cups, 4 of Cups, Princess of Swords, and the Lovers. It's about really encouraging us to watch the choices that we make and to resolve any emotional hangups that are still getting in our way. And that would be like that unintegrated Lilith or that dark moon shadow. We're on a healing journey together. All of us are on this healing journey. And as we come towards the end of this phase of the healing journey, we find ourselves becoming more and more, I want to say collected, more and more at peace with where things are for us. There's also magic. This cup behind here is like magic, as well as the doe appearing in this card with the Lovers. There's magic in our world around us. And when you open yourself up to that magic, then the capacity for connection and healing is really unlimited. And I believe that's another message. I mean, this is so strong. We thought the game was over, so we weren't even going to watch it. But I said, well, let's just turn on the TV to see, and it was only halftime. So it's like we were meant to see this game. You were meant to encounter this this information today, because we're reaching a choice. We're reaching a choice where we can walk through things slow. We can miss our goals. We can continue to stay in the dark. But if we choose to walk through having resolved that shadow side of ourselves as much as possible, then we can walk through with a much bigger sense of self than we could before. I have to tell you something else about the game. There was a star player who, she actually made the single goal for Australia. She had 2 opportunities. So remember, now it's even. England scored twice. This woman had 2 opportunities. She could have leveled the score, but for whatever reason, and they were good opportunities that she could have made, and she was so upset with herself for missing them. She missed them. And that's another question. Why did she miss them? But in the theater of all of this unfolding for us, it's about heart and it's about will. And the heart wants, when the heart wants something so deeply and so strongly, and the will gets behind the heart, the power we have is endless. And actually, I want to ask, what is the message of that woman missing the goals? Because that now seems pretty significant to me. All right, looks like it's going to be a short answer. What is the lesson in the woman missing 2 goals? 7 of Cups, 2 of Cups. So it's having our focus on the wrong thing. 2 of Cups and 7 of Cups. So 2 of Cups would be that mutual attraction, that hope that comes between 2 people, and 7 of Cups is delusion. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of this cards. But the message here is that in the 2 of Cups, and 2 opportunities, right? 2 opportunities. In the 2 of Cups, this is an attraction that is at its beginning, where you don't know enough about the other person. You haven't lived with them, or you haven't gone through life together, the scary and the ugly parts of life with them. And it's very easy to drop into a fantasy. And what that does is, if you stay more focused on the fantasy than getting to know the other person in a very real way, keeping your head on the ground, keeping your feet on the ground, you're not an ostrich, keeping your feet on the ground, then you lose sight. You lose focus in where you're supposed to be focusing, which is on, what do I have to give this person? Who really are they? Who am I? What are we together? How do we enhance our lives together? So metaphorically, the woman must have gotten lost in, uh-oh, I've got to make this goal. And I think that she probably put a lot of pressure on herself. And she started to fantasize and think beyond where she actually was, instead of fully being present and focused in the moment. Because I'm remembering one of the, she tried with her head, and her feet looked really awkward. It almost looked like she was going to fall on her rear because her feet were unbalanced. And so that means that she's not present in the moment. She's not there. She was somewhere else. And, it was really interesting, because there were about 10 minutes to go, I think. And that's maybe including overage. I don't remember, where that second goal was made by England, or really the third goal, the final goal was made by England. And the body language of this other woman just dropped, of the star scorer on Australian. She had already lost the match, and they had enough time theoretically to catch up, but they'd already lost. So all of this, then for us, it is a big message about the choices we make and how much we want to focus. Do we commit to our choices, or do we get distracted? Do we commit one day and then decide the other day to get less committal? Do we go for it with our full hearts, or do we hold back? There's lots and lots and lots of messages in here for us, but I want to close with one in particular. Closing message, please. Four of Pentacles. This is about laying down the stable foundations for our future. Rousseau, the name of the woman who scored the 2 goals for England, as I mentioned, means red. Red is the color of the first chakra, which has to do with our roots, our foundation, feet, legs, kind of some parts of the haunches. Okay, and look, he's got red. He's got red on his haunches. So this has to do with, we're at a phase of building a new foundation at this point in the year, before we close out through some Mercury retrogrades and some other events. But right now it is focusing on your foundation, which is why this new moon is not necessarily about manifesting. Because the important thing is to focus on the foundations. Where are you strong? What is your world built on? What values is your world built on? What is important to you? And is what's important to you reflected in the structure of your day? Are you feeling secure in all aspects of your life? If you're not, make sure that you take the steps. You make a decision to embrace, attract, create more stability for yourself, so that you don't get lost in delusions of what's not there. And understand that at this time we are all blessed. We are all being given equal opportunities for growth, lots of help, and health. It's an interesting slip there. Lots of encouragement. And that those who would help you and give you messages are closer than you think. It's not always some kind of profound moment where the sky goes dark and the voice of God opens up to talk to you. It's in little signs, just like I described to you today, although to me they're not so little. It's in little ways, a little message from a stranger, a little thing you happen to see. Staying really present in your world alerts you to the presence of the divine. And that connection can help comfort us in times of stress, in times of growth and challenge, because we realize that there is a bigger force looking out for us, a bigger loving force looking out for us. So make sure there is an element of your foundation that's very strong in that too, because this can only help you become more healthy, more open, more present. All right, if you've got any questions about that or comments, I'd love to hear from you. And if you also need any help with foundation or figuring out what your foundation is, as a Soul Path mentor, one of the things that brings me a lot of joy is making all of this stuff practical, making the soul messages, making your astrological chart, making all the lessons you set out to learn, making that practical. What does that mean in day to day? So if you'd like to explore that, please reach out. Contact information is in the description below. And thanks for joining me on this fun little journey, and I'll see you soon.